Hi everyone. Welcome to English Achieve. Let me ask you something important. Have you ever noticed that some people try to control you, drain your energy, or make you feel small, but with certain people, they never even try? Why? Because those people carry a quiet power, a silent strength, a calm presence that toxic people can feel immediately. They don't shout, they don't fight, they don't explain too much. Yet toxic people feel uncomfortable around them. They feel exposed, they feel powerless, and most of all, they feel afraid. In today's lesson, you will learn 8 silent behaviors that naturally make toxic people lose control over you. These are not aggressive behaviors. These are not rude behaviors. These are powerful inner behaviors that protect your peace, build your confidence, and change how people treat you. If you practice these habits, you will not need to fight toxic people. Your presence alone will be enough. This is not only a motivational lesson. This is also a powerful way to improve your English while improving your mindset. So listen carefully, read slowly, and let these ideas grow inside you. Behavior 1. You do not react emotionally. Toxic people survive on emotional reactions. They want to see anger on your face. They want to hear pain in your voice. They want to know that their words have power over you. Your emotional reaction is their food. It gives them energy. It gives them satisfaction. It gives them control. When they insult you and you become upset, they feel successful. When they provoke you and you argue, they feel powerful. They feel important because they believe they can control your inner world. That is why toxic people often push your buttons again and again, not because you are weak, but because they want proof that they still have influence over you. But everything changes the moment you stop reacting emotionally. When they try to trigger you and you remain calm, they become confused. When they expect anger and you offer silence, they begin to feel insecure. When they try to hurt you and you respond with peace, they lose their sense of power. Your calmness becomes your strength. Your silence becomes your protection. This does not mean you become cold or heartless. It does not mean you stop feeling emotions. It means you become emotionally disciplined. You begin to understand that you do not need to attend every argument you are invited to. You begin to realize that not every comment deserves a reply. Not every opinion deserves your attention. And not every provocation deserves your time. Emotional discipline is when you pause before reacting. It is when you breathe instead of explode. It is when you protect your peace instead of proving a point. A calm person is dangerous to toxic people because calm people cannot be controlled easily. Calm people cannot be manipulated easily. Calm people think clearly. Calm people observe before they speak. Calm people choose wisdom over ego. And when you begin to see clearly, you stop playing emotional games with people who only want to drain your energy. This single behavior can slowly transform your entire social world. People begin to treat you differently when they see that you are emotionally stable. They begin to respect you more when they realize you are not easily shaken. And toxic people, when they notice that their words no longer affect you, their drama no longer moves you, and their manipulation no longer works on you, they slowly step back. Not because you fought them, but because you outgrew them. Not because you attacked them, but because you mastered yourself, and that is real power. Behavior 2. You speak less, but say more. Toxic people often talk too much. They explain too much. They argue too much. They try too hard to prove themselves to everyone. Their words are loud, endless, and full of insecurity. They speak not because they have something meaningful to say, but because they want attention, validation, and control. But strong people are different. Strong people understand the power of silence. Strong people do not waste words on unnecessary explanations. Strong people do not speak to impress others. They speak with purpose. They speak when their words add value, not when their ego demands attention. When you begin to talk less, something powerful happens. People start to listen more carefully when you do speak. Your words begin to carry weight. Your voice begins to feel important, because silence creates impact. Noise creates ignorance. A person who speaks endlessly is often ignored, but a person who speaks wisely is always remembered. When your words are limited but meaningful, they leave a deep impression on others. When you stop explaining yourself all the time, you also create mystery. And mystery creates respect. People become curious about you. They begin to observe you more. They try to understand you more deeply. This is why toxic people feel uncomfortable around those who are quiet and controlled. Toxic people fear those who are difficult to read. They fear those who do not reveal everything about their thoughts, plans, and emotions. They fear those who do not overshare their personal struggles, weaknesses, and dreams. Because oversharing gives them information, and information gives them power. The more they know about you, the easier it becomes for them to manipulate you, criticize you, or use your vulnerabilities against you. That is why emotional and verbal discipline is a form of self-protection. When you become selective with your words, you protect your inner world. You stop giving everyone access to your mind and heart. You begin to control the narrative of your life. You decide what people know about you and what they do not know. You understand that privacy is not secrecy, it is wisdom. This silent discipline makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability makes toxic people nervous. They cannot control what they cannot understand. They cannot manipulate what they cannot access. Your silence becomes your shield. Your restraint becomes your strength. You do not need to announce your plans to feel powerful. You do not need to justify your boundaries to feel confident. You do not need to explain your growth to feel validated. Let people misunderstand you. Let people doubt you. Let people underestimate you. Your life will speak louder than your words ever could. Your actions will explain what your mouth never needs to. And when people finally see the results, they will understand everything without you saying a single sentence. That is the quiet power of a person who speaks less but means more. Behavior 3. You walk away without drama. One of the most powerful things you can learn in life is how to walk away calmly. No shouting, no long emotional speeches, no dramatic exits, no public scenes. Just a quiet, confident decision inside your heart that says, "This is no longer good for me." Most people believe strength means fighting back, explaining everything, and proving their point. But real strength often looks silent. Real strength often looks like self-control. When you choose peace over chaos, you are choosing your future over your ego. Toxic people expect noise. They expect tears. They expect arguments. They expect emotional breakdowns because this is the environment where they feel powerful and in control. Chaos feeds their ego. Drama gives them attention. Emotional reactions give them satisfaction. But when you walk away peacefully, you destroy the pattern they are used to. You become unpredictable. You take back your power without saying a word. Walking away without drama is a clear sign of inner strength. It shows self-respect because you refuse to stay in spaces that hurt you. It shows emotional maturity because you no longer need to explain yourself to people who do not want to understand you. It shows wisdom because you realize that your mental health is more important than winning an argument. When you walk away quietly, you are not escaping. You are choosing yourself. You are choosing growth. You are choosing dignity. This kind of behavior confuses toxic people deeply because they lose their influence over you. They are prepared for a fight. They are ready for emotional chaos. But when you give them silence and distance instead, they feel powerless. Toxic people often want long closure conversations because these conversations give them another opportunity to manipulate you. They want emotional debates because emotional debates allow them to twist your words, play the victim, and pull you back into the cycle. They want dramatic goodbyes because drama makes them feel important. It makes them feel like the center of your world. But when you walk away with calmness and dignity, you refuse to give them that satisfaction. You close the door without noise. You end the story without conflict. And this quiet ending is the most powerful message you can send. This behavior does not make you weak. It makes you emotionally intelligent. It means you understand that your peace is more valuable than proving your point. It means you understand that not every battle deserves your energy. Some battles only drain you. Some conversations only damage you. Some relationships only delay your growth. Walking away without drama is not giving up. It is leveling up. It is choosing healing over harm, growth over attachment, and self-respect over emotional chaos. And when you master this behavior, you begin to live a calmer, stronger, and more peaceful life. Behavior 4. You are comfortable. Being alone. Toxic people often depend heavily on others for emotional support. They need constant attention. They need validation. They need reassurance. They need someone always available to listen to them, agree with them, and emotionally carry them. Because of this dependence, they try to keep people emotionally attached to them. They use guilt, pressure, fear, and manipulation to make others stay. Deep inside, they fear losing control over relationships because control is the only thing that makes them feel safe. But everything changes when you become comfortable being alone. When you stop fearing solitude, you take back your freedom. You are no longer emotionally dependent on anyone for happiness. You are no longer desperate for approval. You are no longer willing to accept disrespect just to avoid loneliness. You begin to choose relationships from strength, not from fear. This independence is deeply threatening to toxic people. They cannot control someone who does not need them emotionally. They cannot manipulate someone who is complete on their own. They cannot use abandonment as a weapon when you are not afraid to be alone. Your emotional self-sufficiency removes their greatest tool, fear. When you are comfortable in your own company, their tactics stop working. Their guilt trips lose power. Their silent treatments lose impact. Their emotional games become ineffective. You become emotionally untouchable, not because you are cold, but because you are whole. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is feeling empty even when surrounded by people. Solitude is feeling peaceful even when no one is around. Solitude is a powerful space where you grow. It is in silence that you begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. It is in quiet moments that you reflect on your life. It is in solitude that you discover your true values, your real desires, and your deeper purpose. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you stop begging for the presence of people who do not deserve you. You begin to raise your standards naturally. When toxic people realize that you are not afraid to walk alone, they lose their leverage over you. They can no longer threaten you with distance. They can no longer control you with emotional pressure. They can no longer keep you trapped with fear. And without leverage, they lose power. Your ability to stand alone becomes your greatest strength. It becomes the silent signal that says, I am here by choice, not by need. And when you live from this mindset, you attract healthier relationships, stronger connections, and deeper respect. Because the strongest people are not those who hold on tightly to everyone, but those who know how to stand firmly on their own. Behavior 5. You do not seek validation. Toxic people often use validation as a hidden weapon. They give approval when it benefits them and withdraw approval when they want control. They use praise to pull you closer and criticism to push you into doubt. Over time, this emotional pattern can make you feel like you must earn love, earn attention, and earn acceptance. You begin to measure your worth by their reactions. You begin to question yourself when they disapprove. You begin to feel anxious when their praise disappears. This is how emotional control slowly grows. But the moment you stop seeking validation, their power over you begins to collapse. When you no longer need constant approval, you become emotionally independent. When you trust your own judgment, you stop asking for permission to exist as your true self. You begin to live from inner confidence instead of external approval. This shift is quiet, but it is deeply powerful. You still listen to feedback. You still learn from others. You still improve yourself. But you are no longer emotionally controlled by people's opinions. You understand that feedback is information, not identity. You do not change your personality just to be liked. You do not betray your values just to be accepted. You do not shrink your dreams just to fit into someone else's expectations. Instead, you begin to live with integrity. You begin to respect yourself more deeply. And when you respect yourself, you naturally teach others how to treat you. Toxic people feel uncomfortable around those who are self-validated. They fear people who know their own worth, because self-validated people cannot be easily manipulated. They do not beg for attention. They do not chase approval. They do not perform for applause. They do not live for compliments. They do not collapse under criticism. Their emotional stability comes from inside, not from outside reactions. This inner strength makes toxic people feel powerless. They cannot control you with silence. They cannot control you with praise. They cannot control you with rejection, because none of these tools work on someone who is already grounded in their own worth. When your self-worth comes from within, no one can take it away from you. People can disagree with you, misunderstand you, or criticize you, but they cannot break your foundation. You remain steady. You remain calm. You remain confident. And that inner stability changes everything. You begin to choose relationships that are healthy instead of desperate. You begin to walk away from disrespect instead of tolerating it. You begin to grow without needing anyone's permission. And this silent strength, this quiet self-trust, makes toxic people deeply uncomfortable. Not because you fight them, but because you are no longer available for their control. Behavior 6. You observe more than you speak. Powerful people are often quiet, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand the power of observation. They listen carefully. They watch behavior closely. They notice patterns that others miss. They study the energy of a room, the tone of a voice, the small gestures that reveal a person's true intentions. They understand people deeply without revealing much about themselves. They know that speaking less allows them to see more. This ability to observe gives them clarity and control over situations without needing to dominate conversations or prove their point. While others waste their energy talking, they gain insight, understanding, and awareness that becomes their silent strength. Toxic people, on the other hand, often expose themselves through their behavior. Their tone, their reactions, their contradictions, and even their micro-expressions reveal the truth behind their intentions. They assume everyone is too busy talking or reacting to notice these details. They rely on distractions, noise, and emotional chaos to cover their manipulations. But when you become a quiet observer, you see everything. You notice when someone's words do not match their actions. You detect when praise is actually manipulation. You sense the hidden agendas behind friendly gestures. You recognize patterns that indicate control, deceit, or exploitation. This awareness gives you a significant advantage because you are no longer blind to the dynamics around you. Being observant does not mean you have to react to everything. You do not need to point out every lie. You do not need to call out every behavior. Your power lies in your awareness, in your ability to see clearly without being seen. Your observation becomes a shield, protecting your energy and your peace. While others get pulled into unnecessary drama, you remain calm and composed because you understand what is happening before it affects you. You learn to respond only when necessary and in a way that benefits you, rather than being controlled by someone else's games. Toxic people fear observant individuals because they cannot be easily fooled, manipulated, or controlled. Observant people see beyond the surface. They notice the intentions behind words. They recognize dishonesty quickly. They understand emotional strategies before they are used against them. And this ability makes toxic individuals nervous, frustrated, and powerless. The more you practice observation over reaction, the more you free yourself from manipulation. You become untouchable, not because you fight, but because you understand. You learn to choose your battles wisely, and many conflicts simply pass by without affecting your peace. In truth, observation is one of the most underestimated powers a person can possess. By speaking less and watching more, you gain insight, clarity, and control. Your silence becomes your strength. Your awareness becomes your shield. Your ability to read people and situations allows you to protect yourself effortlessly. And toxic people, who rely on emotional chaos to gain power, quickly realize that they have nothing over someone who sees clearly, remains calm, and speaks only when necessary. Observation in this way is both a defense and a form of quiet dominance. Behavior 7. You stay consistent with your boundaries. Boundaries are not loud. Boundaries are not aggressive. Boundaries are not dramatic. Real boundaries are calm, consistent, and firm. They are silent declarations of self-respect. They are lines that define what is acceptable and what is not, and they are maintained without needing to prove anything to anyone. Toxic people, on the other hand, thrive on testing limits. They often start small, making subtle, disrespectful comments, ignoring minor requests, or crossing little lines to see what they can get away with. They are skilled at probing, finding weak spots, and exploiting them. If you react emotionally or inconsistently, they take that as permission to continue. But if you remain firm and unwavering, their tactics lose effectiveness. Consistency is the most powerful tool when it comes to boundaries. When you consistently protect your space, your time, and your energy, you communicate strength without raising your voice. You show that your self-respect is non-negotiable. You do not need to argue, threaten, or create drama. You do not need to explain yourself endlessly. A simple, calm, and consistent response is often more effective than any long lecture. Saying no when something is not okay, stepping back when respect is absent, and refusing to reward bad behavior with attention are the actions that quietly enforce your limits. These are not signs of weakness. On the contrary, they are signs of emotional intelligence and maturity. You are teaching people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. Toxic people quickly learn to recognize patterns. When they see someone consistently upholding boundaries, they begin to realize that manipulation, guilt-tripping, or emotional pressure will not succeed. They understand that their usual strategies, loud arguments, emotional games, or passive-aggressive behavior, cannot bend you. And because they rely on exploiting inconsistency, this consistency creates psychological strength. Your calm and unwavering stance makes them uneasy because it challenges their perception of control. They may push initially, testing again and again, but each time they fail, they slowly step back. Over time, they realize that you are not someone they can influence easily. They understand that your boundaries are not temporary, not negotiable, and not subject to emotional whims. Consistency with boundaries is also an act of self-love. It teaches you to value your time, your energy, and your mental well-being. It allows you to focus on relationships and situations that respect your limits rather than constantly reacting to those that do not. It creates a sense of inner stability because you no longer live on the emotional roller coaster dictated by others' behavior. By staying consistent, you reinforce your own strength daily. Toxic people sense this power even if you never announce it. They feel it in your calm refusal to tolerate disrespect, in your quiet firmness, and in your predictable, unshakable standards. And that is the most effective way to regain control over your social and emotional world. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling yourself. And when you stay consistent with them, you silently teach everyone around you, including toxic people, that your peace is priceless, your respect is non-negotiable, and your life is yours to protect. Behavior 8. You continue growing quietly. The most powerful behavior of all is silent growth. It is the kind of growth that is steady, invisible to those who wish to control you, and unstoppable because it comes from within. You do not announce your goals. You do not broadcast your plans. You do not post updates for approval or recognition. You simply grow. You dedicate yourself to learning, reading, and improving. You strengthen your mind through knowledge. You heal your heart through reflection. You develop emotional intelligence and spiritual discipline. And you do all of this quietly, without drawing attention. Growth that is quiet is growth that is protected. It cannot be sabotaged easily. It cannot be manipulated. It cannot be stolen. Toxic people fear this kind of growth because it is unpredictable and uncontrollable. They fear change they cannot influence. They fear progress that does not involve their approval or intervention. When they see you evolving silently, when they see you becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined without announcing it to the world, they feel powerless. They cannot keep up, and they cannot manipulate the path you are walking. Their attempts to distract, criticize, or derail you lose impact because your growth is internal, intentional, and independent. This invisible power is frightening to anyone who survives on controlling others, because it proves that your strength comes from inside, not from external validation. Your success does not need to be loud. Your improvement does not need applause. Your transformation does not require permission. Every book you read, every skill you master, every moment you invest in yourself adds to your power silently. Your life becomes your message. People will notice not because you told them to notice, but because the results speak for themselves. Your calm, quiet dedication to growth makes your actions undeniable and your impact inevitable. You do not need to explain. You do not need to justify. You simply continue to improve, and that alone shifts the balance of power in your favor. Silent growth allows you to outgrow environments, relationships, and limitations that once held you back. You begin to rise above the influence of toxic people because you are no longer available to be controlled. You outgrow distractions, emotional manipulation, and unnecessary drama. What once drained you now has no hold over you. And over time, your consistent, quiet progress becomes the most powerful form of resistance. While toxic people chase attention and control, you quietly transform, strengthen, and evolve. You prove, without words, that the most unstoppable force is a person who grows silently, steadily, and independently. Closing message. These 8 behaviors are not tricks. They are not clever manipulation techniques. They are not social strategies designed to control others. They are reflections of inner strength, emotional discipline, self-awareness, self-respect, independence, and consistent growth. They come from a deep understanding that your energy, your peace, and your life are far too valuable to give away to those who seek to control or drain you. You do not need to fight toxic people. You do not need to expose them. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone. Your calm, your silence, your boundaries, and your personal growth will do the work for you without a single argument or confrontation. When you stop reacting emotionally, toxic people lose control. When you speak less but say more, they feel uncertain. When you walk away peacefully, they feel powerless. When you enjoy your own company, they lose leverage. When you stop seeking validation, they lose influence. When you observe deeply, they cannot deceive you. When you remain consistent with boundaries, they lose access. And when you grow quietly, they lose relevance. This is real power. Quiet power, deep power, unshakable power. At English Achieve, we believe in helping you protect your peace while improving your life. Practice these behaviors slowly, consistently, and patiently. Your energy will shift, your mindset will strengthen, and your life will transform. Protect your peace. Protect yourself. Grow silently and powerfully.